Hey Spuddies, Potatomcwhiskey here, and welcome to Let's Play Imperator Rome. So there's quite a bit of stuff that we need to handle, basically. We need to go through and make sure our empire is set up correctly. For example, down here, it doesn't really make much more sense to be running the governor policy for social mobility, because we have evened out the population in here to what I would consider to be a reasonable spread. And now what we want to do is we actually want this culture to be in here to be Roman, because the problem we're running into is, even though these guys are our primary culture group, they're actually still getting penalties from not being our culture and from aggressive expansion. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch this to cultural assimilation. This guy is pretty old, but he's pretty healthy too, so he should live a while. And we're going to do similar things over here. Social mobility is old news. We've basically converted away all of the tribesmen, so we're going to be putting in cultural assimilation in here, because we want as many of these pops that we can get to be Roman pops, because that means that the overall output of our empire is better. And similarly over here, we haven't done the thing that spreads the pop out into different classes over here, but we can go ahead and do cultural assimilation in here, because we need more of these pops to follow our culture. And then I'd also like to do that over here in this province, because there's a lot of pops in here that follow the wrong culture too. You can see they're all like Sibelian and stuff like that. So we're going to switch this bleed them dry to cultural assimilation. And my hope is that over time, these provinces will start to adopt my culture and then be more productive. Up here, I think we've mostly gotten rid of tribesmen as well, so that's an important consideration. So now we can start culturally converting this too, because, well, a lot of it is Roman, but a lot of it is also the wrong culture. The bigger the percentage of our nation that we can get to be Roman, the less penalties we will take from aggressive expansion. So that's just something worthy of working on. The capital region is fine the way it is. Up here, cultural assimilation has been slow, but hopefully it will make progress. Up here, we've been civilizing away all of the tribesmen pops, which is good. So now we have very few of them. Now we want to also culturally assimilate here. Even though these are my primary culture groups, we want them to be Roman, not Etruscans. Over here we have a decent number of Roman pops in here, but we also need them to be culturally assimilated. Up here we're culturally assimilating. Just a lot of cultural assimilation really, because the more of our pops that follow our culture, the better. Up here we're not running cultural assimilation, and I think we should be. Civilization mode here is fine, but I think it would be better if we were culturally assimilating them so that they are just happier in general. They are my culture group, but it's better because of the aggressive expansion that we have. It's better, and we'll be continuously getting these penalties throughout the game. So the more pops that we convert, the better we can expand and not suffer as many penalties. Over here, it's more of the same really. It's just culturally assimilating as much of the world as humanly possible. And in Latobicia, this guy is old, but he is young enough to justify cultural assimilation here. Just get as many of these as we possibly can. So yeah, pretty much running cultural assimilation basically everywhere, with the exception of here, which we're trying to civilize away all of the negative pops. But we should see, in the not too distant future, some benefits, especially since we're going to be at peace for a while. It might be good to build buildings. So for example, I feel like marketplaces are just the objectively best building when you have forts covering your nation. Like, there's no reason to build anything but marketplaces. And a lot of people say that, you know, forts aren't really worth building, and I agree somewhat, but for me, for roleplay purposes, I still like to build forts. And I'd like to get a few forts in here to make life a little bit harder for people trying to do bad stuff to me. So we're going to get a fort in there. We have a fort here, but it'd probably be better if it was coastal. So we'll get rid of the training camp, build a fort. We'll delete that fort. And this is a mountain pass which could justify a fort. We'll put a fort, let's see, you're covering all of these provinces, so it'll be good to get a fort in there. And we'll put a fort down here on the coastline. Although ideally it would go in here. Okay. A fort there makes sense too. So just building up some forts in the local areas. Probably not perfect fort coverage, but I'm happy with these fort layouts. They should provide us with some defense. I'll put a fort in here. I'll put a fort right up against this mountain. And a fort in there. And the idea is any revolts or anything that we have will be hindered by these forts. And, you know, they won't be able to just march freely through our territory because our empire is going to get very big and difficult to manage. Now, it is probably more optimal to just recruit more armies, hire a bunch of mercenaries and have them act as forts. But I think this is fine. I think this is perfectly fine to do this sort of stuff. And then we have 1,000 gold left over to do what we want with them. So we're going to be going at speed 5 basically in this episode to just, you know, kind of boost along and keep things moving. I'm going to talk him out of this rash decision. 100 military power would be nice, though, because we could get another thing. And siege engineers would be really nice. Because I definitely want to be able to construct that border fort. I don't think these are very useful. Heavy infantry discipline would have been nice to pick up, too. So start heading down that path. And so now it's time to look at inventions we could get. Let's see, what are the inventions coming in here? Trireme discipline, siege engineers, that would be great. Heavy infantry cost would be amazing. Oratory advances that are coming up. Tribute income, improve opinion maximum, not so sold on those. Double pay, national manpower, national freeman happiness, army morale recovery, that would actually be quite good to grab. But since we don't, it might be a good idea to come here into Roma and see if we can get more surplus goods. Wine gives freeman happiness from surplus. Salt gives fort defense. Wood gives tax, but I think cloth gives better tax. Yeah, it does. Olives do give local slaves happiness, so I think there's really not much point in building much in here. We will go ahead and get another granary. And the reason we're building granaries is because we need to be able to sustain the population in here. We're going to be taking a lot of slaves over the course of the game, and so that's something we need to manage. Is there a grain production province in here? Because the more grain I can produce, the better. Need 14 slave pops, so we would need to move 12 in here. I could probably very easily move 12 pops in here. How many can I move out of Rome? It's this city right here, right? It's Norba. Let's move these guys to Norba. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So now Norba is producing another surplus of grain, which is great. It means a little bit more growth in here. Over the course of the game, it's not going to mean a whole lot, but it does mean we'll be able to sustain more pop in our capital because we will... Now this legion over here is using troops that I would consider relatively unbuffed by our current things. See, our archers don't really get a whole lot of benefits from a lot of our particular things. Really what we want to be focusing on is light infantry, heavy infantry, and light cavalry, because those are the things that we get the most benefits from. And you can even see if you hover over the military traditions. Light infantry, heavy infantry, and light cavalry are like just the way to do things, in my opinion. So while this army does not have a commander, we don't have to deal with any loyalty issues. So we're going to take the archers out. We're going to delete them. We are going to recruit a auxilia, a principes, and then 6 velites. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that was 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. And that should even out this army into being a good mixture of the troops that we want to use. And then we'll assign a commander to it. A lot of people say, oh, you also shouldn't assign your commanders and stuff like that. But, you know, it's just... I mean, sure, there's a point where optimizing just isn't fun. And that kind of optimization isn't fun. I like the idea that these commanders get to build up loyalty. Because don't forget, there is a benefit from these cohorts being loyal. I don't pay for them as much. And they get a discipline boost. If I hover over there, you can see improved discipline from personal loyalty plus 10%. So that's pretty good. So I'm actually personally okay. This army is relatively heavy. I'm not sure who he was. Hopefully he was just a person in the government and not something important. Now, civilization-wise, we will need to work on civilizing these provinces we've taken. It is growing, but relatively slowly, because, you know, reasons. Hold on to this gold. I could start building a bunch of buildings. Granaries to me are just objectively worse than any other building, as far as I've been able to discern. Marketplaces seem pretty well built because they give you a lot of tax. They generally just increase the income and civilization value, which has a lot of other side benefits. I mean, I went for a bunch of granaries in here to see what the effect would be, and it doesn't seem to be a whole lot. Like, I ran the numbers, and I don't think building granaries in here was really worth it. But it's fine. So let's just invest into a shit ton of marketplaces. Although in the capital province, might be worth it to get granaries because it has a naturally higher growth rate and you benefit more from granaries the higher your pop is, compared to not building granaries. But marketplaces just kind of just feel like better granaries, really. So there we go. Bunch of marketplaces on the way. These are long-term things that will provide benefits. The barbarians in Dalmatia have risen. That's fine. So yeah, hopefully I might spend like a few years of peace here, just letting things go along. I could take on some of these smaller nations up here in the mountains and stuff like that. I don't think that's a particularly bad move. So you're pretty heavy, but you should be light enough to be a fighting force. Let's go ahead and put Valisus Marius. He will hopefully provide this army with some benefits. These guys are going to take these on. You can settle with and pay off barbs, but I don't think it's worth it as a civilized nation. We want to prevent them from killing us. And we captured a pop as a slave and they died. Alrighty. So I feel like we've made a pretty strong Rome in the 70 years that we've been playing this game. I don't know how many more episodes I'm going to do of this Rome campaign because there's a patch coming out and I really want to try out the patch, the 1.1 patch. Although we might continue on with this save. Perhaps see if we can recreate the Roman Empire a little bit more. It would be nice if we could expand in multiple directions, but I think it's better to expand in a single direction and then consolidate all that land. Like we've got a bunch of... Oh, hey, people are already turning Roman. You can see the little red splotches starting to appear over here. And that's really what we want to see. We want to see Romans appearing, because what that means is I can click on this guy and see how many he's converted. He's already converted 42 of the pops to Roman, and that's like in this region. He's converted 42 of the pops. So he's already converted 10% of the pops in here to my culture. This guy, for example, he's converted 315 pops over here in Cisalpine Gaul to Roman, which is great. And just over time, we should start to see talk him out of the rash action. We need an oratory skill guy. There we go. Yeah, I think conquering all these mountain regions are going to be good and important to do. Can I integrate these guys? That's a question. So these is my tribal vassal, right? They are my vassal. But apparently I can't integrate them. I'm not really sure what I'm getting from them. I'm getting some of their manpower, I guess. It doesn't seem to have been worth it to turn them into a tribal vassal. Although I guess it will help them build up their civilization value, right? Is there a way to see it? Not really. This guy is disloyal. But he's dying, so I don't care. So currently, 34.59%. 1628 went up to 1636. So we got 8 more Roman pops, that monthly tick. That's good. Brother of the Consul of Rome. So he was my censor. He died really quick. I hope he's not. I hope my people aren't getting assassinated. No, I don't care about shoring up defenses. Our aggressive expansion is draining really, really quickly because we're on the particular stance that we're on now. We're in Nepete. Are there any inventions we want to pick up before they disappear? Technology speed, eh. Morale recovery? Yes, because I had some problem with morale recovery. It's actually a 20%. It says 2%, but it's actually a 20% increase. Because if I go over here and I hover over my army here, you can see that the morale recovery is a base of 10%, and plus 2% is actually a 20% increase to morale recovery. So that's why that's actually a little bit deceptive. National tax. I think this is going to scale pretty well throughout the game. So I'm going to grab that. And as this drains away, you'll see that our tech rate is going up every month because our people are becoming less and less unhappy with the situation as our aggressive expansion drains away. Probably want to wait till it hits around like 25 and then look to go for another war. See, look at all the little Roman splotches that are appearing. Isn't that wonderful? All the Roman majority provinces are starting to appear, which means these provinces are going to suffer much less. You can see here a Hellenic Roman is a 59%. It's probably a bad province to use as an example. So like the Lepontic is 0%. The Roman is 50%. So that's actually like a huge difference in output. One is producing 0, the other is producing some. So I'm a big proponent of, culturally assimilation. You got to assimilate as many pops as you can into your culture. A little bit of an oratory advance. Any new technologies from oratory? No, I think we already came to the conclusion. The only real one I might go for is approved familia, because that is a direct loyalty boost. which is always nice. New ruler, Omen power, convert pops cost. It's actually not a bad thing because we can convert citizens. At a cheaper rate. And I think for the sake of stabilizing my realm and getting more out of my citizens, I will be converting away pops if I can. Just primarily citizens because they are where my tech comes from. And so that's like a worthwhile thing to do in the long run. Like if we look at a citizen who is the wrong religion, he's... Well, I can't find one now. Yeah, like a Roman citizen who's the wrong religion is taking a 15% penalty to his output, which is actually a significant portion of his output. So spending that little bit of religious power on that is good. It's not like we were doing anything else with that, right? It's not going to move the majority, but it just means less of our pops are... and also, the important thing too is it also raises our religious unity. That's an important thing. Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do to centralize and religiously convert all the pops in our nation. Okay, civic advance. Apparently this guy gives us a pretty bad tech output. Yeah, narrow-minded tech output. Oh, well. And you can see the unrest now, because the aggressive expansion is going away. All the unrest is going away too. Which is exactly the sort of thing we want to see. Now that our unrest is low, I'm probably going to let this tick away for another few months. Again, I'd like to get down to about 25. 25 feels like a good number to me. Omen power. And religious unity is important. Military faction support is fine. Let's build some more markets. Although I think I was going to just only build granaries in here to show off how weak they are. Marketplaces, 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 marketplaces. So I guess we'll just kind of like radially expand outwards along the coastline, sort of a thing. We should start seeing a little bit of a color gradient. Rome is well developed. Over a very long period, these provinces will also become more developed. We need a new augur. We'll take that guy. And we're about to get a religious advance. None of these really appeal to me, except for the army morale recovery. But I definitely want the Scorpio and Blacksmith's apprentices. You're actually taking attrition over here. So is it time to recruit another army? Have a look here. Definitely want to try and get control of Transalpine Gaul to start converting it. Let's fabricate a claim on these guys. And look up who their allies are. By the way, I installed a mod. This is actually a modded game. I got rid of the fog that shows up when you zoom in. And let me tell you, it made a huge difference to my enjoyment of the game. So if we look at this... Could I declare war on these guys? We would be going to war with quite a few people if we did that. They're all up here in this mountain area though. Okay. friends outside the borders trying to build a network. Yeah, I don't care about that guy getting opinion of me. So right now, there's no risk of a civil war, and there's no risk of rebellion. So who are your allies? We would be fighting an awful lot of different places. Let's let our manpower recover a little bit before we do that. And we will do... I guess we want to do the unrest thing again. I mean, we could do the Blessing of Ceres and just wait 5 years before we go to war. Actually, I like that idea. This should represent a few pops here and there, not a huge amount, but I think it is time to sit for just a few years. Spend a little bit of time absorbing. You can see already the color is starting to change to our culture, which is really, really cool. It's nice to see that. Some places are turning faster than others, but over time you should see little splodges of Roman appearing. We should actually be up to around 40% Romans. Yeah, 38.13. Good, 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 good. I just kind of wish more of this area would fill in a bit. We need majorities. So over here in Sparta, lost its governor. Let's pick up this guy. You have a good spread of stats. I'll put you in charge there. You decided trade routes and trade routes. Yeah, that's fine. So we're committed now to just relaxing until this national population growth thing is done. And then we'll probably do a war near the end of that. Any laws that we could change? I know I've looked through this a few times. Monthly corruption is great. Omen power, religious faction influence. Call omen cost. Monthly tyranny. Let's see, national citizen happiness. I like this national unrest one. That one's staying the way it is. National population growth, eh. Capital import routes, eh. And none of these really matter. National slave output. Wrong culture group happiness. There's a decent one. Wrong culture happiness. National citizen happiness is really good though. Enslavement efficiency. Manpower. National slaves needed for surplus. There's a good one. We would probably produce more goods to export, which would pump up our trade ability. Especially if we decided to go down the free trade route and then actually do like internal importing and stuff like that to net more gold and more benefits throughout our empire. Curious, what does the population map look like right now? You can see Rome is like a little beacon where there's a lot of pops. Very underpopulated out here in these areas. Head researcher died. Unfortunate. So we're down to about where we want to be in terms of that. Okay. So if we're going to go to war with these guys, we need to be ready to be at war with all of these other guys. Wait, why are you taking attrition? I'm going to give these guys independent operations underneath the governor. Maybe independent operations is better. Wait, where's the army that I assigned to this region? Oh, it was these guys. I had to like stop them. Trade hub developing. More slaves. Getting nearly 2,000 manpower a month. Let's head these guys over to get in position. So if we're going to be fighting these guys, we need to keep in mind this web of alliances that we're going to be fighting as well. So let's get a couple of these troops in the region of the fighting. We have our forts built up, which is great. It means that we shouldn't suffer too many slaves being taken from us. And we'll soon get another military advance. Actually, out of curiosity, yeah, we're quite a bit ahead in terms of military advances, which is good. Although I imagine there's probably like a small nation somewhere that's like super ahead. See if I can find one like these guys. Yeah, 10, 10, 10. It's, they said they were looking to address some of the tech stuff, because I bet some of these bigger nations are like super behind. Yeah. I have my own ideas about how they could fix that, but you know, I'm curious to see how they plan to fix it. Lots of trade routes coming in. People are hungry for my goods because they're important to them. Did I remember to click this on? Yeah. We don't trade away surpluses. Okay, martial advance. Let's go ahead and pick up Scorpio and Blacksmith's Apprentice. So if we were to declare war on these guys, we want to have claims on these guys as well. Just means we can take a little bit more. There's only 14 pops. But it means we'll take less aggressive expansion because we have claims. Have to walk all the way around here. I'm looking forward to when I don't have to do that anymore. Let's bring you up to here, bring you down to here. I'm actually going to use you to fight these guys. And then these two. Let's see if I can knock out these smaller guys out of the war early and then deal with these other ones. Yeah, there's a lot of scorned families, but like, what can I do? Realistically. Got a bunch of cash. Marketplaces? Yeah, I feel like the building game right now is just like spam marketplaces because they're the most high value thing you can build. That just kind of feels like what it is. And I'd like to see that change too. Look at all those Roman provinces appearing. Isn't it great? Roman pop percentage is up to 39.72%. Every pop we can convert to Roman just slightly increases the efficiency of our entire nation. So that's why I'm doing it. Yeah, you're taking attrition there, but that's okay. Alright, let's get the war to go. I really should be using this capital import route, but everyone hates me. What about stone? Surplus would be build cost. Ooh, vegetables. If I get a surplus of vegetables in my capital, it would give me the ability to move slaves cheaper, which lets me optimize my empire a little bit, which is cool. Let's go ahead and get the war declared. Ambara is big enough to guarantee now. Well, that's good. That means they're going to be the big bad dogs to fight. You go siege that down. We'll go down to a lower speed. I did say we committed to this, but by the time this runs out, we should be ready for the national unrest thing. Should be a fairly simple fight there. And then can you go reinforce that? You go deal with those guys. So who is in my war? Just me and some friends. So I'm hoping that I get to engage here. It looks like they're going to engage me. But my troop quality and discipline and stuff like that should win me the day. You're doing your job on independent operations, on shock. Well, you guys actually want to be on skirmishing. So it looks like they're trying to break the siege on their capital. Just stacks upon stacks upon stacks. My god, look at this alliance chain that we've broken into. I don't think I need both of you on this fort right now. Definitely need to deal with the war leader. That's going to be the most important part. Oh, it's a mountain province. I wonder. We should be ripping down these things. Yeah, we are. It says minus 21% chance, but this should actually be a 14% chance to succeed. Right, there's some tasty, tasty slaves. Let's get you up to sieging down this guy. Baria. Now, which province do I really, really want to take control of? Celtic probably wouldn't be a bad move. You know what? I could probably just take all the provinces that I can find in here. Morale of armies boost is pretty good. Oh, you're looking for a kill here, aren't you? All their armies have been kicked out up to this direction, so they're going to be able to regroup and do damage to me, which really sucks. We did win the battle. I feel like an army in Shattered Retreat should take attrition, like to symbolize like all the soldiers running away after a battle. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. Shattered Retreat seems really, really powerful and annoying to deal with right now, and there's not really much of a consequence of like running away. I think I'm going to replace this heavy cavalry with some light cav. Let's get these guys out of the war. Need to go deal with that army up there. Murdering some boys. Looks like this is where they were retreating to, so I managed to just catch them again and obliterate them. Start some sieges up here. And now that we've reorganized this army, we can assign a leader to it. And this guy will do the trick, in my opinion. Alright, nice. So this guy is... the main war goal is taken care of, basically. So now we're going to start dealing with the war leader. And then maybe take care of these two smaller guys as well. Looks like they're coming in to fight me here. This is a very light army. This one is definitely one that I want to retool, but it currently is loyal. It's a skirmishing army, but I think light infantry, heavy infantry, and cavalry are like the good mix of things that can like take damage and deal damage and just do all the stuff that you need an army to do in this game. And also, there's just a lot of like stuff that I'm not used to seeing, and the graphics can be sometimes distracting. One thing I wish is when I was zoomed in at this level, I wish there was an option to like make the color a bit more like it is at this level, so I can kind of tell, because if I zoom in here, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on and who's who and all that sort of stuff. And then like when the trees are really white, you know, what is going on here? Actually, there is an option that can make the game a little bit easier to see. If I turn off fill in impassable terrain, it leaves I kind of wish the game looked like this, but when I was at this zoom level, right? Because the game is just a little bit clearer in terms of like graphics, but as you zoom in, like the graphics change, if you see what I mean, when you reach a certain zoom level. And like it's really, really pretty, but from actually playing the game standpoint, I sometimes struggle a little bit, not gonna lie. Starting experience is like a pretty decent one, but there's a research points and national commerce income in here, which is also really, really good. We're sieging down these. This should be like a really good chance to win. And 29% chance, even though it says 0, it's just like a little bit. That's a small graphical error bug or whatever you want to call it. Oh yeah, main army should stop here and let these guys join up. In fact, I'm going to pull you back a little bit so you can get all your troops hooked into you. You guys are just taking attrition, hurting me. That's fine. I think you also get to a point where you're like strong enough to just like let certain actions be taken care of by the AI generals that you have. There's a battle here that they think we're going to lose due to the terrain. Be very surprised if we lose this one. We're very, very strong right now, just because of our sheer economic power of our nation. They're trying to figure out how to fight us. Now they're locked into a battle where I'll have the defender's advantage. They will outnumber me heavily, and this is a skirmisher army, which is relatively weak. But my advantages are so powerful. In terms of troop quality and discipline and all that sort of stuff. It's just hard for them to deal with me. You can come back another like two provinces to pick up these heavy infantry. You are going to go ahead and be on independent operations with these guys. Just kind of do whatever you feel is necessary. Yes, you may import. I do think that having a governor army running around just kind of doing its own thing is like a helpful thing, just to help you manage your empire a little bit. Okay, we need to get this guy sieged down. And an interesting thing is that I've noticed that as like a Rome or whatever expands into these barbarian lands, it like upsets the balance of power in these regions. And I noticed that as I expanded out into here, wars are breaking out where people are like killing each other and growing really big. Like this guy, he's up to a regional power. He's almost like a major power, so he's getting there. Although he still has like very, 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 very few pops. And all the while we're doing all this, more of the population in the country is becoming Roman. See that nice, beautiful red color spreading. Even down here, for example, more Roman pops are appearing. We're up to 40.74% Romans. Now that is nice. So this army is now complete and can start participating in the war. Let's go get them to go down here and take on that siege. I think my plan is to take these guys and then these two mountain pass guys and then like little chunks of the places that I want. So I think my next goal is to actually get this guy over here taken care of. So you... I'm gonna go siege stuff down as a you. And you. You're independently operating, which is kind of weird. That your choices are bad, but I'm like, I don't want to micromanage you, so it's fine. Every city in the province of Laodicea. Pay for that city, damn you. Is it Laodicea or Laodicea? We'll do some roaming freely. If we kill a few pops, that's fine. That means less pops that we have to assimilate, and they'll just grow back a little bit quicker. Let's go ahead and get this guy sieged down so we can separate piece him. I think you can't normally separate piece people, but once you have them fully done... See, I feel like you should have been heading here, because they're sieging down my province, right? And now you're going there. So we'll flip that to us. More slaves. Oh, to be Roman. Unfortunately, the governor down here died, which means I'm going to have to like retool all of these things. I mean, unless the loyalty is staying constant, then I might just not assign a governor down here. I don't think the policy has an effect unless there's a governor. This guy's young, and he flipped all of them to things that I don't care about. So this is going to be an expensive process, but it's not too bad. The tyranny kind of sucks, but we definitely want to make sure that we culturally assimilate basically all of these provinces. The logic being, again, if we can culturally assimilate all of these provinces, they'll follow my culture and I'll suffer less penalties from holding territory of... Even my own culture group, like these Messapian guys, they take a pretty significant penalty from this aggressive expansion, so it's worth it in the long term to just get rid of as many of them as I can. The more Romans I have, you know, the less upset my people are. I can just keep expanding. It's all in a day's work manipulating the stuff in the game. You're going to go head down here and clean up that siege. Good job, you killed a pirate. Can you take on this battle? Looks like you should win that. You're waiting for this heavy infantry to arrive. If we can get the... Looks like they're in a civil war. Which is fine. Croton sent me a gift of gold. Not that I need it. But it is appreciated. I could separate piece these guys out, actually. I think, and that won't end the war. Because the war leader is these guys. We can just cut them down. Now this province is mine, and we can start converting it. Now, out of curiosity. Oof. A lot of slaves in here. Do I... Now there was a law. There was a law that reduced... And I feel like this would be really, really powerful. Although the enslavement efficiency and aggressive expansion impact is hard to trade up, because one lets us just expand more. And just end up with more slaves, whereas the other one just makes slaves better. A little bit. Lots of battles happening. You're doing a good job cleaning up pirates. Good job, little fleets. I mean, technically there's no war goal anymore because I took the war goal. You go siege that down. You will take some pretty horrific attrition. Oh, actually, supply limit's quite good because this is their capital. And they have... Wow, actually, quite a good bit of civilization here because they have quite a few oratory advances. Interesting. I was expecting this supply limit in these mountain passes to be very, very rough, but it's not too bad, all things considered. Yes, Rome. We have a long process of integrating and civilizing these provinces, converting the culture, converting the religion, and then eventually running the civilization edict to bring up the civilization level. All that sort of jazz will be taken care of in the long term. We need to get rid of tribesmen, we need to get rid of people of the wrong culture, and we need to get rid of people of the wrong religion also. Can you guys handle that for me? Let's get those 2 mercs. It cost me a bit of military power to do that, but I don't want to have to handle this. But yeah, I'm going to call that the end of the episode. We're making good progress. We're going to be taking over some more territory here. Well, actually, real quick, I just want to finish off this section of the war. If I can get these guys to peace out. Oh, the revolt went weird. Yeah, see, this is the thing. Because now this army is actually just stuck here. And I have to use the retreat button. And that won't even work, right? I love you all very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.